Hi class, we're now on 8.6. This is from initial mass reactants, a percent yield and theoretical. So I jumped the gun a little bit on 8.5, but hopefully that with this section makes a lot of sense. So this might just actually be review. So in this problem, we start out with 53.2 grams of sodium and 65.8 grams of CO2. We need to determine the limiting and the theoretical yield. So remember I stated that when you're dealing with limiting, you're always given both values of reactants because you have to separately calculate out which one determines provides the smaller amount. That is the limiting. That's also the theoretical. Okay, so in this case, when this is calculated out, we determined that you from Cl2 will produce 108 grams of sodium chloride, and with sodium it will produce 135 grams. So the 108 grams is the limiting reactant, and it's also the theoretical. That is the max amount that can be produced without any errors or issues on paper. So in this set of the problem, you're given the actual yield. Actual is physical. Remember, we're not doing this in the lab, so you will never be able to determine the physical. You'll only be able to determine the theoretical. So in this case, now you're being asked for the percent yield. You remember the formula is percent yield equals actual yield over theoretical times 100. We plug all our information in because remember the limiting is also the theoretical yield times 100, and this reaction produced 80% yield. Okay, so let's do another one. You have 11.5 grams of a copper oxide and 114.5 grams of carbon. Same steps. We want to determine the limiting, which is also the theoretical. Once we determine that out, we can then figure out, let's just jump ahead. We can then use this information if we're given the actual to take this further and determine the percent yield. So in this case, the copper oxide is the limiting reactant, and it produced 101.7 grams of copper. That's our theoretical. We can plug that in, and now we're given an actual yield of copper, and that gives us 85.9% yield on this problem.